Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. And we are back to discuss episode 4 of season 2 of HBO's The Last of Us, based on the video game franchise. I am one of your hosts for this episode. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this week by Liz Seiko.
Hello, what's going on?
And so we have another big intro with this episode. And it was a character that I alluded to last week. And so let's just break down the episode. Let's just do it, Liz. First of all, your favorite of all time, Josh Peck.
Mr. Josh Peck. I was shocked. I didn't expect that cameo to pop.
It's basically like getting Lindsay Lohan in the opening.
Almost.
of this. But so very interesting cameo by Josh Peck in the intro as a member of Fedra. And we kind of have this little story being told by his character about the voters, who was the citizens in the apocalypse that want to make change until they're like the authority kind of comes in and shuts them down. But amidst that scene, we get the real intro we're there for, which is Jeffrey Wright's character of Isaac. Now, Mark had said this off camera, I think last week when he was producing. I think he produced our episode last week or whatever. But he was saying that Jeffrey Wright does the voice of the character in the game, so he knows the nuance and the story of what Isaac goes through, but he didn't do the motion capture, so it was an entirely different looking character. But Jeffrey Wright is a standout actor to me, and he's done these great parts on HBO as well. Obviously, probably the best known for Westworld, but he's also been in Boardwalk Empire. Was he in The Leftovers too, maybe? I don't know if did you watch Leftovers?
No, I didn't.
I feel like he might have been in Leftovers too, but we have this crazy introduction where he arrives, and there's also this new recruit as a member of Fedra who has a little bit of remorse and a little bit more of like, has that tinge to him of like still being a person amongst the world, not in an apocalypse, showing heart, showing like a real care for people. And they both exit the back of this military vehicle, meets the character of Hanrahan, played by Alana Eubank. And once they make that introduction, he decides to take a grenade, throw it in the back of the truck, shut the door, and lock it. Shocking, to say the least, for two people that didn't play the game, didn't know that was coming. Not sure if that's in the game, but just that intro to his character. What did you think of that kind of cold-blooded intro of Isaac?
I mean, what an intro. What an intro. I really loved that, even though like it was very shocking, but it kind of got me right into the storyline, and I was almost excited for us to now be introduced to a whole new character, which can honestly kind of like after we've already been introduced to so many characters this season.
Yeah, it's
so
a lot.
many different plot lines. So like when we already have a lot of plot lines, a lot of like open character stories that haven't really been touched in a little while, it's kind of daunting to bring in a total new character that we've never seen before. But I was like, okay, I'm seated and I'm ready and I'm interested to see where this man goes. And I think it was such a great opening scene too, because you really are just confused now. You're like, wait a minute. Okay, this is 11 years ago that he did this. So where's he now? 11 years later, like whose side is he on, and what really happened between those 11 years?
Well, you're disoriented, similar to the recruit. Who's like he's a new recruit just to Fedra in general, and now he's meeting his commanding officer. He's the sergeant, by the way, Isaac, of this platoon. And he just realizes that he just killed all of his soldiers, and he's like, "What is happening?" And he's like, "Make your choice."
But also, he like saved him only.
100%.
So then that character is definitely like, oh my God, I owe something to
He's
this
indebted.
man.
He's totally indebted to Isaac. I agree. I mean, I think that it's great for the shock value, but it also provides a lot of context to Isaac. And we get 2 scenes of Isaac in this show, in this episode, should I say. I would say they're probably the 2 best scenes of the episode.
I think so. There is one sequence that's very, like the one with them in the subway. I think
great.
Is very good and very intense.
Yeah.
But I think like dialogue wise, his 2 scenes are stealaways.
100%. But then, like you said, we jump 11 years later, and we then start to focus on Dina and Ellie. And we were talking before we started recording. I have said, I'm curious what you guys think in the comments. I'm not a fan of the way we're jumping back and forth between time. And like you said, there's so many new characters that we're dealing with in this season. I mean, I think it probably takes up two hands with all the characters that have prominent speaking parts that are new in terms of we have to learn about them. We have to learn about their motivations. We have to learn about their relationships to other characters. And amidst all of that, we're jumping in time. Now there's factions involved. So when you see that title card after the intro to then jump to Dina and Ellie, as a viewer, what was your reaction to that?
I groaned. I was just like, oh, another freaking time jump. And because, listen, time jumps are hard already in writing because you need to make it relevant. You need to make it just like have a point. I don't know if there's necessarily like, I get it. They needed to kind of give us a base of what Isaac's character has done and like where what his statement is. But I don't know. I'm just like really getting sick of like this back and forth without it actually being for a reason other than to show us a scene that happened 10 years ago that isn't necessarily prominent to the overall plot.
Not yet.
I mean, I could be wrong because I don't know what's to come. So like maybe that moment was a very big one, but I mean, I know you were talking about it, that the overall just pacing of this show is starting to get a little kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the way that they're structuring this season at all.
Specifically because of the time jumps, you think?
I think that's part of it. I think that another part of it is things that are obvious to some people. But like, again, I'm a big fan of the Joel and Ellie dynamic, and that's a big part of
like letting that go.
Yeah, like you have to let go of that as a player of the game. You have to let go of it as a viewer. And Mark and I talked about this in the premiere for season 2, which you weren't on, but I was like, they have to hook us with Dina and Ellie. Like it's obvious that they have to have. We're going from a father-daughter relationship to a romantic relationship between these two characters, and this is an episode where you're supposed to see that jumping off point, which we'll get into the details of it and the nuance of it all. But I'm not there, and time to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't think, and we talked about this, I'm not sure if Bella is doing justice to the character thus far this season. And as someone who has not played the game, and you have not played the game,
I have not.
That's the only context I can provide. Now, if there are people who play the game in the comments and you want to type away,
do you feel different?
Feel free.
Let us know, because I don't know what's coming. Maybe there's a big change in her character, but I mean, you and I were just talking about it. Right now, after this episode, I think that Dina is a little bit overshadowing Ellie's character as a whole.
I agree. And you were saying you think it's maybe due to an acting thing.
I think it might be acting. I don't know if I'm just enjoying Dina's performance more when she's on camera versus Ellie, and I'm almost more interested in like seeing Dina's point of view on things versus Ellie's point of view, which isn't good if they're our main leading character now. Like, you, especially because they killed off Joel, like we should all be gathering around Ellie and being like, all right, Ellie's our girl now, like let's see what happens with her. And the fact that I'm kind of more interested in the supporting character isn't great. I want her to take back the reins and really, I've been saying this since the first episode that I came on for this. I want to see a change in her character. I mean, pretty much her father figure died, and I don't think there was any personality change, which I get. It's that she's trying to put on like this hard like armor and showing that she's not affected by things, but like this, she is now in life or death situations, and she doesn't have this father figure that was protecting her. So like I want to see a change in her personality, but I don't know if we're gonna. This could just be who she is.
Yeah, it's more of like, it's like a journey of retribution rather than a journey of a character going through the process of change, which I can understand why it's again, it's video game versus on screen. It's a tough thing. But a part of me
thinks like, we're not on a video game, we're in a TV show.
Yeah, 100%.
And she is an actor, and she should be making these choices that show a character change, even if the change didn't happen in the game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We get an intimate scene. Now, we were talking again before we started rolling.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind the scene as much as you clearly did. But it is a scene again in the game in which it's a multifaceted scene in the show where they wind up they're in Seattle at this point. There is a big piece of like the LGBTQ plus highlighting in this episode. That when
they were like, oh, they were like rainbow, really happy rainbow.
But she's like,
I don't remember the exact
I think
wording.
She says something like, oh, they must have been really optimistic or something like
I love that.
But they also end up in Capitol Hill, which is a very big sort of gay community in Seattle. So it's cool that they play kind of tribute to that, and it's the same thing in the game. But they end up then taking shelter in an old record store. And
after, though, they're like, they go through something before getting. Oh no, you're right.
Yeah, there is something. There is something that happens earlier on, but we'll get to it.
That was my fault.
No, it's okay. So they go in the record store, and Ellie sings "Take on Me." You want to jump in, Liz?
All video game people, I get it. It was in the video game. It was a big moment in the video game. It did not resonate to screen. As somebody that has not seen the video game, it was too long of a scene. Give us a little snippet. You had mentioned to me off screen when I was talking about this that it's supposed to be Dina kind of falling in love with Ellie and showing us their connection. I don't really know if I bought that, because I was so taken out of like, why are we singing right now?
Why are we still
singing right now when like you're literally anybody could be around. Mm-hmm. And also they're trying to be quiet, and yet this girl picks up a guitar and starts singing her heart out. Like, what? True. I just was really taken out, so then I wasn't able to understand the reason for it. So again, I get it was in the video game, but some things don't necessarily
translate the same way.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, I mean they could have done there's a big change obviously in the season with like Tommy not being there when Joel dies. So they could have made an executive decision to do that. Maybe
and make it shorter. Why did it have to be like
well,
2.5 minutes long?
I do feel like if I had to guess, Neil Druckmann, who's the creator of the game and an executive producer on the show, probably felt that it was essential to be in the show. It does play as a multi-nuanced thing. It's not just, for me anyway, it's not just Dina kind of falling for Ellie, but it's also a reflection and showcasing the impact of that loss for Joel on Ellie. Now, it's not played in a way where, again, it's not done through dialogue, but it is in a way like showcasing where she asks like, or she said, you got really good. And she was like, yeah, it's like because of Joel or whatever. And he taught you well. So it does play into that a little bit, but you wanted more from that probably.
So now that I really am like hearing you talk about it, I needed more from Ellie. I needed it to be a little bit less performative and a little bit more inward of her actually like mourning right now still and showing the grief. I just feel like the grief is gone now, and it's not really coming up of like the moments of her thinking about Joel. Yeah,
I think that's fair. But then from that point, we jump into another. We jump again. We jump back to Isaac, which again, pacing wise, very interesting choice in the way they're editing this, because for me, you could have really sequenced it where you just did the flashback of Isaac, jumped back to current Isaac, then had that scene with Dina and Ellie, and then just continued with them throughout the rest of the episode. I think it still would have worked, because then we don't get Isaac again for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
You disagree?
I kind of disagree.
Okay.
I could see them bookmarking this episode with him, or bookending him on the beginning and end.
But you can't do that, because then you have the thing with again, we're talking spoilers on here. Obviously, we've been talking spoilers the whole time. But then we eventually get to the point where I'm trying to think of the Seraphites, when the wolves are hanging,
yeah, you're right,
with their intestines out. So it kind of plays back to the war that's happening.
I think it's more the reason they were cutting it is to show that this now is happening at the same time. And if they had him before the singing,
yeah,
it would have been a little bit off.
I get what you're saying.
Timing wise.
Okay, I get what you're saying. But anyway, we jump back to Isaac. A great scene.
Gorgeous writing.
Great scene.
Great
where
writing.
he and a great way that they kind of showcase it visually. Where and you knew that something was going to be on the other side of it for people that watch enough movies and television. But we start on and again, good. Maybe you're right. Actually, the editing is good because at that point, then Dina says, "Let me go make you some food."
Yeah.
And then
We're in a kitchen.
Yeah, we're in a kitchen. And Isaac is talking about how he was a shy kid, a shy young man. He didn't really talk to a lot of women. And he said the one thing that he did know how to do, though, was cook. So whenever he was around a woman, he would always cook for them. And he said he always wanted to have these Mauviel pans, these French artisan copper pans. And then we pan out and we are transitioning to a member of the Seraphites, completely naked, battered, tortured, broken. And he is not using these pans for cooking, Liz.
It literally looked like a scene from Saw.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So tell me about that scene playing out for you before we get into the information part of it. Like that reveal for you, and then the eventual where he starts burning the Seraphite with the pan.
A part of me, and so by him talking about like he was a shy kid, he didn't really talk to a lot of women. I thought that it was going to be a woman that he was like talking to. And
you thought he just kind of captured somebody. Did you have that feeling?
A part of me was like, is this where Abby's now going to come back into play? And like, we're going to see.
She's just going to be listening to him, you thought maybe.
No, not listening to him, but like, I don't know, because I don't know the story yet. And we already saw him turn on his own people. I was like, is he now going to torture or has Abby kidnapped somehow? And there's a whole other side plot besides just her being hunted by Ellie that she's involved in, like, I don't know. So I didn't really expect him to have one of the what are the
Seraphites.
The Seraphites. But gorgeous writing. I mean, it really shows his whole, it gives more of a scope of his character, his thoughts, that he's low-key a psychopath too, that he's able to just have this free-flowing conversation with somebody who's clearly being tortured by him, like his own hand. So really great acting, really great writing. It was probably one of my favorite scenes actually out of this episode because of how strong it was.
It might be one of my favorite scenes in the show.
Yeah.
He's so engrossing, Jeffrey Wright. I think that the biggest thing for me in terms of the way they structure his character in this is you jump back and forth in such a short amount of time between like the morality of him. And I think that you start it from where he's in this platoon vehicle. He's the sergeant of this crew, but it's very obvious that he still has a feeling for people at the end of the day. He's like, well, they were called voters because we took their rights away, like to vote. Like that's what they were. And then he calls Josh Peck's character, what does he call him? Thoughtless. So you can understand he's an intelligent character. He's a character of merit. He's a character of belief. He's a character that has
He's
depth
thinking things through. He's not just being like a brute that wants to just murder for murder.
100%. So then you go from that to then him being in this kitchen talking about how, oh, he was a shy kid. He didn't really feel comfortable talking to women, to then pan out and see this battered, broken, like torture scene. And it's just a crazy scene.
My favorite part about that scene too is when he's talking with the guy, and they're kind of going back and forth about like why each of their teams or each of their like units did what they did, and like, well, we did this because you did that, and then they're like, well, he's like, well, you did this because we did that. And it just keeps going to a point that they're almost like, we don't even know why we started fighting.
Exactly.
But we're still fighting each other, but we don't know what the actual cause is, which I think is going to be like a huge thread throughout the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, so we get the conversation between he calls him Scar.
Yeah.
And Scar and Isaac, and Isaac said it all starts because you put an arrow in a little boy's head, and with the Seraphites, we now understand that their job is to protect themselves. They have this belief in a higher power and a higher being, a spiritual
like a goddess
being, a goddess
sort.
of some sort. And they believe in that. And you're talking about how they get to a point where they don't even know what they're fighting about. My favorite part about it might be the fact where the soldier, not the soldier, the tortured character Scar, he says, well, he goes, I know that we're going to win this because we've had many members of your faction already turn, and we've never had a single Seraphite go to the Wolves, to kind of really start to have an understanding of where the Wolves have come from in that 11-year stretch.
True.
Which I think is so interesting, to then transition out to see. I love the dynamic of the parallel where we then see a new recruit of the Wolves guarding the door with the new recruit from the beginning of the episode, who now is desensitized to all of the shit that he's seen over this decade plus stretch of Isaac's schemes and whatever he's doing, to then see him as this confident, like, he knows what he's doing, like, don't worry about it. And then he's now consoling this person that was in his situation 11 years ago. I just think it's such a great scene, and it sets the tone for like what that character is. For someone who didn't know who that character was, you didn't obviously either.
Nope.
For me, it's like it lives up exactly to the hype. Like that's what I wanted to see out of his character, knowing that like my cousin Mark, who played the video game too, he's like, dude, Isaac is legit. Like, that character's crazy. And like getting those two scenes of Jeffrey Wright, I was like, oh my God, this adds a whole nother layer, a whole nother layer to what they have to deal with going forward. And Abby coming from that, you know?
Well, I think it just shows really how unprepared these two are going into it, Ellie and Dina. I mean, we also find like Dina probably has a little bit right now. Ellie is fully vengeance. She wants to like take down Abby, but I think Dina is the smarter head right now of actually trying to plan and so that they both don't die. And I think we're, as the audience, in on it more than they are now. Of they don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, 100%. But then so we go back to Dina and Ellie, and we go to another scene that I thought was strong, and this is why I think the middle part of the episode was really well done. Like probably the full. I mean, again, I thought the intro was good too, with the exception of I like the take on me scene.
I didn't.
But we have the reveal where they go into. Where are they in it's like a warehouse? I don't know where they're
something
where
like
they're
that.
at. But we see Dina and Ellie coming across these hung wolves with their intestines hanging out. Now, one of the people I listened to on YouTube, shout out Screen Crush, they were talking about how with the Seraphites, might be in the game, maybe it's not, but so much of what they believe is that the part of the reason they do that as like a ritualistic thing is because it's the only way to absolve these wolves of their sin, which is crazy.
Okay,
and it's like brutal. Like, that's a brutal visual.
Yeah.
Like, it's graphic. I mean, it's graphic.
Yeah.
So we go from that to then now the wolves coming in, identifying their friends, seeing this happen, and then they're on a route to vengeance. And we get this really tense scene where Ellie and Dina are hiding from the wolves to an eventual murdering of two of the wolves, and then the running out. What did you think about how that scene played out?
I thought it was great. I thought it was really great tension, really great suspension too. And yeah, I was like, okay, let's see what ends up happening. Obviously, I knew that, like, I don't know, after Joel died, like, I know that, like, they're safe at this point because, like, they can't kill them off too in this season. So I was like, okay, they're not both going to die. One of them won't die either because they already did that. But I was like, they could get captured, but I don't know. And so I thought it was really good tension.
And then we jump into a scene which you were just talking about. Probably one of the best, if not, I mean, it's tough because the siege was also a great scene with the clickers. But we get Darian, great with the lighting too, everything being red, just like the video game. But we have Ellie and Dina stuck in this train subway train with all these clickers around them. It's heavy, man. It's a lot. It's
intense. It's very claustrophobic at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was good too because we'd already gone now, what, an episode and a half without seeing any clickers? Right? An episode and a half? Because we didn't see any last episode.
We didn't see any last episode. Yeah, I mean, well, they're in majority of episode 2. So we had one episode where
But I think it's just a great reminder of like, yes, you have all these human beings who can kill each other, but then you also have wrapped around all this human drama is like they can get you at any time.
So that was what I'm curious on your thoughts on that, because and you said you only watched what, like season 1 of Walking Dead?
Yeah.
So you've never watched like any other zombie shows probably, right?
No.
Okay. So I know that a big gripe with fans of the game of the first season was there's not enough clickers. They're like like it's obvious, like in the game the whole thing is like this is their world that they live in, like
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And this episode I think does a good job of reestablishing that for them and being like, no, like you guys got to remember. And I like how they're doing it with the spores, how like we're constantly getting that visual of the spores kind of coming up and attracting the clickers and making you aware, like you said, that they do exist within this world. Because it's hard when you're introducing all these other characters to then forget about the main threat. And that was, as someone who watched a lot of seasons of The Walking Dead, they screwed that a lot as they went along with season.
Okay, they kind of forgot what like the main like villain.
It sure
really
felt like
is.
it.
Okay.
It's like we're living in a world among zombies where majority of the world is zombies now at this point, and we're not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But I did also like, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but like we're starting to get that back and forth as well of like establishing the characters that are dead that don't become zombies because they die before they're like bit. So like,
oh yeah,
we're having the characters going back and forth between like, can we trust this? Can we not trust these? Is it a clicker? Is it not a clicker? And we eventually, at the end of that, we get the big thing where Ellie decides to essentially sacrifice herself for Dina, allowing herself to get bit. How did that scene play for you?
I thought it was really well timed. I was like, okay, we just had this huge heightened moment. They can't just like casually escape, I think. And like we talked about last episode, that was like the big wild card of when does Dina find out that Ellie is immune?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed how they placed it.
From that point forward, this is where it starts to probably lose us as viewers. And I'm curious on everybody else's thoughts. Let us know. But
I think the writing goes downhill right now. Especially like, I don't know, the Isaac scenes were so well written and so smart to then have a moment that we all know is coming of like Dina and Ellie like coming together finally. It just felt so awkward and awkwardly placed and rushed.
What did you think of the immediate following where
Dina pulling the gun on her?
Yes.
Warranted. I think she's upset, she's sad, but she realizes like she has to kill her. Otherwise, like that's just something that they have to do in this world, unfortunately. Like it probably wasn't her first person that she's ever had to kill because they got bit too.
Plays out much different in the video game.
Really? Why? How?
It's a completely different thing. So in the game, I did my own research on this. In the game, we're going to get introduced to something in the future that is a big thing in the second game where essentially the infected becomes something that like we've talked about how they're like advancing these clickers, right? We're seeing different versions of these. They're smarter, all these things. One of the things that is happening now is that it starts to become a thing in the air. That people can become infected in the air, which is a big wild card. But in the game, like in this whole scene, they're wearing masks, like gas masks.
Okay.
In an area where these spores are, it's in the air. And Ellie takes her mask off, and Dina's like, "What are you doing?" And then she explains, which I think this actually probably plays better than that. I think there's more dramatic tension in the fact that she's literally getting bit,
that you can physically see it,
and the fact that Dina's seeing that play out in front of her eyes, getting a sacrificial element of it, and then having that tension of now I have to pull a gun on you because like I know what the next step is for this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I thought that was honestly probably out of this whole season so far, that was probably Bella Ramsey's best acting. Was her convincing Dina not to shoot her. It seemed very panicky. Like it felt like somebody who truly was like, "Don't shoot me because I don't deserve to die right now."
It's fair.
It felt very honest and real, so I really enjoyed that part. But then it just kind of got a little like the water waking her up, like her being like, oh no, it's the water on my face. Like, see, I told you, like I wasn't gonna do anything. And then
the reveal. So
the big reveal of, I mean, if you're here, you already know. The big reveal of Dina saying, I'm pregnant, and then them just like bolting on each other and then having sex felt so awkward.
Unearned?
Yeah, unearned and just awkwardly placed. Like I was waiting and rooting for the moment for them to finally like come together and actually embrace. And this just felt very not warranted for me.
Yeah, I think it felt a bit forced. I also think we didn't talk about it earlier on the episode, and this is when we backpedaled or whatever, but I wrote it in my notes that the scene in the very beginning, like the first scene we get in this episode between the two of them, Dina finds monostat.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, again, a product that deals with the female anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get like
she like looks off.
She like looks off and they purposely don't show something. And Liz said that
it was the line of her like, I'm gonna pee really quickly, that I was like, she's pregnant.
Yeah. And I thought, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I thought it as soon as she looked off.
Mm-hmm.
Adding the I have to pee line made it like a given. So it was something that I literally wrote in my notes. I said, Dina acting weird, parenthesis, pregnant, question mark.
I wish they had left the I have to pee line out, because then it would have been like, did she see something? Like, is there something that we don't know now?
There could have been so much speculation. It could have been like Tommy in a wolf uniform. Like there's so which would have been crazy. But I'm saying like it could have gone off the rails.
It could have been a number of things. And I just
Isaac and Joel with their arms around each other. just two buddies hanging out, two sociopaths.
But it could have been so much, and the fact that me as somebody who doesn't know where any of the storylines are going. This is one of those shows that I really don't know what's coming next. Knew in that moment, like, she's pregnant. Like, it's an HBO show. I should be surprised when she says I'm pregnant. I shouldn't be guessing it 30 minutes before we actually get the surprise.
Reveal. I agree. I think that's fair. I think that, and I agree with what you're saying. I think the writing does unfortunately fall off at that point. I think that the relationship between Ellie and Dina is not playing out the way that I would hope that it would in something that is supposed to be so central to the plot. And them waking up the next morning together, and the conversation they have feels very awkward. There's a line delivery I know you're such a big fan of. But it's more so even that, and you touched upon this, I think it was after episode 2. Where you're like, I hope we don't do this whole like love triangle thing with Jesse and Ellie and Dina. We can find the time codes. We'll put it in the comments.
Ready? In my notes. It's going to become a throuple thing, and I really don't want that. Like, I just don't want it to become some melodrama. I like the level of human relationship that we have, of them trying to find out like how they feel about each other. But I think just like adding in like the baby daddy, but then Ellie wanting to be a baby daddy. Like, it's too, I don't know. It's starting to become a little cheesy for me.
It's melodramatic.
It's very melodramatic. Yeah. And I know that they're probably trying to do it to lighten the mood, but like, I don't know, a girl finding out that she's pregnant while like you're living in the apocalypse is low-key probably the most terrifying thing that you could ever find out.
Yeah, and it doesn't play that way.
No, it almost
it's like, this is gonna be great.
We're getting a puppy. So fun. Oh my God. Like, gonna be great time. Like, no, this is actually low-key devastating, and like she's gonna have to she probably does have to go home eventually. She probably can't stay on this path of like hunting Abby at a certain point, and things are going to change, just like Ellie says. Like, things have changed now.
Yeah, and I don't know if I love how that happened either. I don't know if I love that conversation that they have on the roof. I would have rather maybe seen it be something where it's a more show don't tell, like when she's like, I think you should think about staying back. I kind of wish it was more so that they're seeing the anarchy happening from afar, and then maybe ending it on Dina being like, you see that building over there? That's where we need to go.
And like them just sit
And then cutting
watching
it
in
there.
fear.
Yeah. Because then it would have at least added again another layer of that like tension, and instead you kind of cut the tension with a knife
By over communicating
to the audience. So I think that is something again where it's like it's a little too heavy-handed.
And I want to say one thing about them like having sex finally. I do understand to an extent that Dina almost lost Ellie. So there's like that fear and like adrenaline rush of like, I almost lost you. Let's just embrace now and be with each other while we can. I do understand that and I appreciate that. It just felt very, very weird coming off after both of their like confessions to each other.
Yeah.
It felt very undeserved.
Well, it's like I'm pregnant, and then like 5 seconds later she's on top of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
No question. Like, how
She
do you
just
know?
goes, "What?"
Like, well, I mean,
Yeah.
they look at the pregnancy test, but like, don't they look at them the next morning?
They do. They look at them next morning. She literally goes, "I'm pregnant," and then
they go at each other.
like,
They just like
and then
jump
she, like,
on each
lunges.
other.
She like lunges at Ellie.
for her.
Yeah. I don't
Not
know.
how I would have done it, but
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair criticism. Now, again, I think you probably feel differently, despite that being a sore subject. And again, I touched upon it earlier. I don't necessarily know how on board I am this season as much with Bella Ramsey as the older version of Ellie. I still think this, for me, is probably my second favorite episode of the season. Episode 2, I think, is still bar none the best. It might be the best episode of the series thus far. But I enjoyed majority of this episode. Again, I liked the stuff with Isaac especially, and I do think there are moments with Ellie and Dina that do work, and I do think that all the stuff with the clickers in this episode really work, and the tension building between the factions and things like that. It's a lot of, I would say, still like 85% of this episode works for me. How do you feel about this episode? I know you said, you were saying before we started recording, it's losing you a little bit.
it's losing me a little bit just because I just don't know if I have, you know what gets me in shows is like, I like to be trying to guess where we're going next. And like, I just like don't really know where we're going. Like, I don't know what the point really is anymore, except them hunting down Abby, who we also haven't seen. Like, I would really love to next episode if they can give us a glimpse of Abby.
Yeah.
I think that we need that. I think that we need to, but I don't know if they will, because I think that their storyline is that they want us to be on Dina and Ellie's side of hunting down Abby. And a part of me thinks that if they show us Abby before they get to her, it'll give us some empathy for Abby. And I don't know if they want that, but I guess that's what the game was like too, of like, you don't know if you're rooting, like who you're rooting for. So I don't know.
We got 3 weeks left, Liz.
I'm
That's
feeling very, I was feeling optimistic last week. This one, it was a very good episode halfway through. I just don't know how they're going to land the plane. And the fact that we only have 3 episodes left and it feels like nothing, I mean, a ton has happened, but like, I don't know. I'm
next?
nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I don't know if the plane's landing.
I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like we're going to go through this for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Also, maybe spoiler alert, Liz and I have to talk off camera. I'm pretty sure you're not going to be here for the finale.
Why? What am I
Because
doing?
you have a scheduling conflict. We're keeping this in, by the way. But so we'll have to circle back to that.
We'll have to figure it out. Canceling any trip I have, guys.
For Ellie and Dina's relationship, you got to find out what happens to the
I gotta
baby.
find out with that baby. The baby can't come this season.
They're gonna name the baby Joel. He's gonna come out with a beard.
Obviously they're
He's gonna come out with a beard, a gray beard.
I mean, I'm not joking about the Joel name. They probably will.
They probably will. I don't know if we get to that point in the game. I don't know.
I mean, you never know with these time jumps. They could
That's
be like
true too.
25 years from now, and we focus on the baby now. The baby is the lead.
Season 3 for the final season. That'd be so funny. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it. We covered a lot of our bases with this episode, but I think I liked a little bit more than you.
Mm-hmm.
Still on board with it, but yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious on where we go with it. I mean, I want to see more Isaac now. Like, I just want to just give me a whole show of Isaac. That's what I want. But let us know in the comments, what are your guys' thoughts. Again, reminder, we didn't play the game. So just know that when you guys are writing your comments, okay? Please be nice. But also, if you guys can, please give this video a like and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. This is not the only thing we're covering currently. We just did our review before we started recording of Marvel's Thunderbolts, myself, Vinny, and Michael. So take a look for that. We have interviews coming for you guys. Also, big news, we did get approved to cover the Tribeca Film Festival once again this year. Myself, Liz, and Zach will be there covering a lot of the films and series that are going to be premiering. So excited for that in June. But there's other things that are upcoming that we're going to be covering. Final Destination's coming in a couple weeks. Hurry Up Tomorrow. The final Mission Impossible movie is coming this month. So we're jumping into summer movie season. Hopefully you guys will join us along the ride, and plus other television series and things like that. So check all that out. And if you guys want to follow us on social media, all that stuff is below me in the video right now, right there. Also in our YouTube description, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on Instagram. So follow us all there as well, and share this with your family and friends if you guys can. Just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.